My name is Oyinda Allawee. I am one of the co-founders of Pangea, which is a holding company for a number of mid-luxury retail brands. As a retail business, we often, or historically, we handle a lot of cash transactions, and we found that sometimes our employees would borrow from cash seemingly for petty cash expenses, but there was no real proper way of tracking this or setting limits on what could be done. So we had to cobble together a sort of expense management solution from different things. Initially, we started off with getting corporate cards from our bank, which is a regular traditional Nigerian bank, and we just funded up to the limit that we wanted to set for the month, and that was what we were doing. But even with that, we will still have situations where people would have the cards and they're using it to withdraw cash, and they're using it to satisfy personal expenses, they're using it for personal shopping. So it was still not an ideal solution, even though we had tried to reduce the incidence of borrowing from cash from sales proceeds at that point. So we had the corporate cards, and like I said, this was from a traditional Nigerian bank, which was our primary banking relationship. But the problem was that each time the cards expired, it always became such an ordeal to get them replaced. The way it was structured then was that the cards were tied to sub-accounts, and then we'll now have situations where they issue us a new card, and the card is no longer tied to the original sub-account. We'll have to create a new sub-account. The whole thing was just really messy. The straw that broke the camel's back, however, was when one of our petty cash cards for one of our locations expired, and we were trying to get a replacement. And I had been emailing and calling, and when I look back to how long it had taken almost a year at this point. And I decided, you know what, there has to be a better solution. This is ridiculous. So we started evaluating a bunch of other expense management solutions. There were quite a few at the time. There were so many new fintechs and stuff like that coming up. And I did, take the time to evaluate them individually on their own merits. And ultimately, we decided that Allawee was the best fit for us for a number of different reasons. And that's why we decided to go with Allawee. Okay, what I think can be better. This is a niggle, to be honest. But there's this thing right now where if you retire a wallet, you can't delete it. So if you've created a whole bunch of wallets that you no longer have use for, they still keep showing up in your interface. For me, it just looks cluttered. I'm not a fan of it. So if that could be improved on, that would be great. So the interesting thing is that I have a cousin who runs an event management company, and she has one member of staff who is essentially kind of like her assistant and stuff like that. And what she had been doing was the assistant would be running up expenses and asking to be reimbursed. But she complained to me that, I don't get these expenses. They seem really high. She's not submitting receipts to go with them. They don't make sense to me. And I was like, you need Allawee. So this is what Allawee is, and this is how you use it. And I basically just pushed her in the direction of Allawee. And I think probably now her business is running much better with a great deal more transparency.